game's afoot, Watson.
So I've just finished watching a Western from 1951 called Tomahawk with Van Heflin and Yvonne De Carlo. And I haven't seen much of Heflin, to be honest, other than Shane, I think, and maybe one or two other things, but or De Carlo either, to be honest. But this was a pretty darn good Western, I thought. But first of all, I have to mention the technical, the beautiful imagery and scenery in this film. It's a gorgeous looking Western, this film. Even if the story was rubbish, which it's not, it's just a feast, a sumptuous feast for the eyes watching this film. The plot. So Van Heflin plays this fur trader and army scout who agrees to scout for the cavalry again when he recognizes, or partially recognizes, this Lieutenant Dancy who comes on the scene as potentially one of the men who was involved in this Indian village massacre, where his Indian wife was killed, and his companion's sister, Susan Cabot, who plays Monacita here, her sister was killed. So he's out for revenge, trying to track this man down since this massacre happened.
I don't know. He looks so young. Monacita was just a kid when this happened. She could be wrong.
I know that. That's why I'll wait till I'm sure.
After all these years, you still try to track him down.
Wouldn't you be?
So Van Heflin's character here is known as Tomahawk by the Indians because he has such close ties to them. His wife was an Indian woman, and he's traveling with his sister-in-law, Monacita, played by Susan Cabot. And Colonel Carrington of the fort here, played by the brilliant Preston Foster, is kind of pressing him for an answer of whose side is he going to come down on when the inevitable conflict, the inevitable fight between the Indians and the cavalry commences.
Colonel, I've tried to do the job that you hired me to do, and I'll keep on
I'm talking
trying.
about a fight, Jim. If it comes, you can't be on both sides.
I promise you one thing, though. When I decide, you'll be the first to know.
And that kind of problem for Van Heflin gives his character a real emotional depth, and gives his character such a great anchor in this film. It makes him a really interesting, kind of well-rounded character. And Van Heflin pulls it off brilliantly. It makes it a really interesting kind of lead character for this film to follow. And these events are kind of all based loosely on real events, historical events, a couple of battles here between the Indians and the cavalry, and this massacre, and the actual trail that they're going on. It's kind of based loosely on historical events. But this is a pretty good story. You also get Yvonne Carlo's character, who comes onto the scene with Tom Tully. They have this traveling kind of show, and they are being escorted by the cavalry to the fort. And in the background, you have this uneasy peace kind of alliance between the Sioux Indians and the army. And that gets broken when Lieutenant Dancy, Alex Nichol, rashly shoots an unarmed Indian boy who's trying to steal one of their horses. So they have this kind of uprising, this kind of Sioux kind of uprising and attack in the background, amongst all this kind of revenge story and other kind of racial kind of Indian white man politics going on. That's your setting. But it's a really good film, I thought. There's not a huge amount of action in it, but Van Heflin's a great leading man, though. He really does say a lot with his emotions through his face, his features, even when he's not actually saying much. He's a really solid lead in the film. Yvonne De Carlo is great also, and Susan Cabot is good as Monacita, although she doesn't have much to say. But Alex Nichol was great as well as a really hissable kind of cavalry villain who you really want to see get his just desserts.
Your own experience should tell you that I'm right, Lieutenant. You've done a little Indian fighting, haven't you? Weren't you in that Colorado campaign in '64?
In 1864, I was in a military hospital in Washington.
But as I said, this film looks gorgeous. It's just a treat for the eyes, this Western. Not a huge amount of action in it, but it doesn't really matter. It's just beautifully shot, and it's got really well written and rounded characters. You know, they're not two-dimensional. They really are well-written characters. And this film, 1951, Tomahawk, was kind of one of the first films to really portray the Indian kind of race, or the Indians people, as a kind of human in that respect, to give them a compassionate kind of telling of their story. It's very fair in that regard. So there's a kind of political kind of story coming across in this film as well. But it's a really good, entertaining Western. I would highly recommend watching this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought Bennett Heflin was really great, and Yvonne De Carlo is beautiful to look at, and she's a really great actress too. You also got Tom Tully, as I said in here, a very good actor, and you've got I'm going to forget his name now, Preston Foster, another famous actor here. You've got a good cast in this film, really good, solid cast. So that's Tomahawk from 1951, a really solid, pretty engrossing Western, I thought. I really enjoyed it. I think it gets about IMDb gives it 6.6 or something. I would give more than that. I think it's a 7 out of 10, this Western. A really nice little Western, thoroughly enjoyable and beautiful to look at. As I said, it's a gorgeous looking Western. Just the technical, it just drips off the screen here, just jumps out at you. So check it out if you're a lover of Westerns like I am. A solid, really solid Western here. Not a huge amount of action, but some great acting on display here. Great cast and a pretty good story also. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.